What is up? Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Xavier Turbos. Yes, I have had a change of team names, and I am joined by the Pretenders once again, Grant McCartan. You're back. You're back for the TLT podcast. I think this is the biggest podcast, the biggest TLT of the year, and dare I say it, probably hasn't delivered what we expected.
Well, to me, it looks, well, firstly, hello. So I've chosen not to wear the same shirt this week. I thought, I'll let you take the limelight. So, yeah, it's good to be back. Can't get rid of me at the moment. I don't know what you did to deserve that, but I'm real sorry about it. But, yeah, it has delivered. It's delivered us a bounty of cheapies like we probably thought. Not all of them, but a lot. And it probably hasn't delivered as many surprises as previous years. Maybe there's some late changes and some coaching silly buggers, but it looks good to me at the moment.
Potentially, but as I said the other week, because we get so much media around it, we probably weren't really expecting much different to what we were just because of the media and how it is these days. Firstly, the weekend, how'd you go? Was it how good was having rugby league back?
Yeah, I missed it a lot. A lot. No, I was actually at an engagement party on Sunday, so I've caught up on the games. I was obviously following all the scores and everything throughout. I only saw live the first half of the first game. The rest I saw in bits and pieces. Looked like great. Rewatching them quietly, they were great games, and I was actually quite impressed at the way that the fitness of the players and how much they threw the ball around.
Yeah.
Geez, the line speed was pretty good. Offloading this early in the season. A Ricky Stewart coaching masterclass.
I kind of expected that from the Raiders. Maybe not as flamboyant, but for the Warriors, I wasn't expecting them to be that bad. And we'll talk about that very shortly. But Sharks and Penrith delivered as well. It was pretty high scoring Supercoach-wise, considering we usually think that's a lower affair. Yeah. So 28-22, few points on the board. Because of our conversation last week, I went Nathan Cleary in that episode. And yes, I did do a team reveal, which I recorded before that conversation.
Immediately before?
Yeah, I uploaded it like 3 days later. So, and I just want to touch on that. Your team reveal is officially the most viewed video on our YouTube channel.
I don't know if that's a positive for me or it says a lot about the rest of years. But no, look, I mean, that's great. It's great to see that the numbers are going up. It's great to see we're getting more support. I know that I've had a few people in the community that I hadn't spoken to much before reach out in recent weeks. I hope that's I think it's a good thing for the SC experience, and I think it's great to see that the show's going well. Like, it's that time of year when everyone's excited.
Yeah.
Now we just got to keep it going.
For sure. Firstly, you just want to shout out Picklebet. Head over to picklebet.com.au. Use the code TURBO when signing up. Best bet this week, your Dragons to beat the Bulldogs at $2.50 on picklebet.com. Make sure to know what you're really gambling with. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858. Use code TURBO. I think they're going to win. But firstly, I want to recap on the players, the popular players from the weekend, and we can just do a little buy, hold, sell segment because Metcalf is the big one. Yep. 12 points. Disappointing, to say the least, to be honest. I think watching the game, I didn't like what I saw from him, but I think you've got to give him another week just to see. If we see something similar to that, and let's say he falls into points, scores a try, but you see that exact performance, I think I'm off him. But maybe not after 1 week. Like, I get you've got to kind of sit on these guys, but at $450K, it's not a cheapie. I think you can't wait too long. I just need to see something next week, and I'm going to be very patient with him, but I just need to see something to have a better idea of where he's at.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think I need to see. There's actually three things that I want to see. Firstly, I think he in any way, shape, or form needs to get more ball. I thought that they went left a lot. And that meant that, and a lot of that was Egan's decision making. I actually thought that he, intentionally or not, went left a lot more than I thought he would.
Yep.
Which is a good thing because it means that potentially we've got a downgrade option in Chanel Harris-Tavita if he sticks around. But the way they played, I can't see how long they're going to stick with these guys if they're not performing. Secondly, their forwards have to be better. They just got absolutely hammered for the first 25 minutes, and it showed for the rest of the game. They had nothing left in the tank. And thirdly, Webster's rotations. I don't know how he took off Fisher, Harris and Barnett that early, and I know this isn't, SuperCoach points-wise, those two guys are not just good SuperCoach players, they're great footy players. You take those two out of any side at the same time and leave out Jackson Ford, who's a good footballer, ex-Dragon, really good footballer, and chuck on Walker and Aaron Clark. They just didn't have that defensive edge that they would have had if they left one of those other guys on, a bit more experience, probably a little bit better footballs, and mixed and matched the other guys through. So, look, there's a few things I want to see the Warriors improve at. Fortunately, that was in Vegas, so long travel time. There's lots of reasons to see why that may have occurred. They get an extra week off now, so it's effectively, no games for them this week. So probably the one team from Vegas that really didn't want a game straight away, although sometimes it's nice to get straight back into it when you have a bad week. But there's a few things I want to see. The things I will remember, though, he got 80 minutes.
Yep.
He is a goal kicker, and he does definitely look like the guy who's kicking them around the park and is their first receiver. I just wonder if maybe he's a bit better a position wider on of the ruck, and if TMM can maybe be the guy to unlock him. Maybe that's the issue.
I think TMM or potentially Tanner Boyd are probably better for him. I thought Chanel Harris-Tavita looked like he was running the side on the weekend, and what I think is better for the team is he's not that type of guy. I feel like he's a defensive guy. Yeah. I think the game just got away from Metcalf. He couldn't get involved. The ball wasn't coming to him, and he just didn't know how to stamp his authority on the game. I think it was game plan to go to the left. I expected him to sweep a bit more, but because of how defensively hard bloody the Hudson Young edge was, I feel like they did go left more often than not. So I'm happy to wait another week. It is worrying, but at the same time, we all bought him for a reason. The stats add up. He's an elite talent, and he plays at home next game. So I wouldn't worry too much. And we've still got another week to think about it. There could be more fish to fry.
Absolutely. It's a long season, and the best round to get a low score out of one of your players is actually for the first round of the year. It gets out of the rolling average fastest, and I did a few numbers during the week and posted them in the group chat. There was half a dozen guys who averaged within a finger of 50 or more, including SJ last year, who scored a 9 at one point in 80 minutes, and still went on and averaged well for the season. So. Yep. There's lots of good positives, but yeah, I mean, if you're not at least got one eye on him this week, then I don't know what to tell you. He's a hold, but he's a big watch. A big watch for sure. Ali Leotawa, 33 points. Me and Timmy were at Panthers at the time, and we were watching it, just begging for him to get some ball. He just never got that ball, and we were so depressed by the end of it. We had to go to the roulette table and cheer ourselves up. But what we did is... I woke up the next day quite hungover. I called Timmy and I said, the 33 from Leotawa is not bad for round one. He got no ball at all. And pretty much without Rogers' try, Rogers is on a similar score. So I'm pretty happy with what he ended up on. And I think I just need to see more from the Warriors. I can't rely on the Warriors to bring the best out of Leotawa, but I just need to see more from them to make sure that Leotawa is a suitable person to hold. If the Warriors don't improve, then he's definitely got to be in consideration for the chopping block, because you don't want a great player on a shit side that gets no ball. That's no good. Yep. You'd prefer someone who's average and can do their job in a good side rather than a great player on a shit side that isn't getting ball. But I guess it just depends on how the game plan kind of works out, because on the weekend, it just wasn't very pretty. Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I don't have a heap to touch on Leotawa. I just thought he suffered from the exact same disease that Metcalf did, which was they refused to go right. The disease's name is Wade Egan. That's the disease. Yeah, look, I think Egan is often actually quite a good attacking hooker. But yeah, he has to learn how to pass left to right. It had to be game plan, you're right, around that Hudson Young edge. That's what it looked like to me. Yep. It looked like they were targeting the opposite edge, but I think both of them are a watch with the same, put them under the same sort of categories of things that you're looking for. And you know what? They'll be better for it as well next game. So happy to watch them. But the Canberra Raiders were really good, and someone that came out absolutely firing, Xavier Savage, looks like he'll be out for 2 weeks. But this is good news for Tamale. Tamale was a beast on the weekend. I think at a bottom dollar price, we haven't quite got the cheapies at TLT today for centre wing, but
I don't know. He's a decent down. I think he can hold his spot, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it for sure. I still would rather, like, we're not going to get a good look at it this week because he will be named. Albert Hopewade will probably play in the centres.
Yep.
Or he'll come in on that wing. They'll just swap wings or something like that. The question for me is, and it should be, I believe that Savage will take the early plea. I haven't seen if he has or not.
Yep.
But if he takes the early plea, it's only 1 week, and then how team list we get that look at round 3. So it's good that it wasn't a 2 or 3 week suspension because then we would have been playing blind. In terms of sort of your buy, sell, hold there, I think he looks like a buy, but I'll be holding that decision till round 3.
He's the kind of person, if he's in his second game and he gets named for his third, you jump on him.
Yeah.
And, you know, he might only get 1 game or 2 games straight after that, but he's the kind of guy who he'll come in when there's an injury and he'll score enough when he comes into the side to be worth it. He's not going to be that slow burn who takes all season to make 100K. He's not going to be that. Yep. So I like the look of him. Ethan Strange at 480K. I've only noted him down in our notes because of how Luke Metcalf went at a similar price. So I guess that's something to monitor if you're quite strapped for what direction you can go in 5'8". But there's a big one here. Nico Hines, 48 points, lost the goal kicking. Done the maths. Without goal kicking last year, he averaged 75 with goal kicking.
Yep.
He averaged 60 without it. That's 15 points difference. What are your thoughts on it? I know I've seen you in chat saying he was battling a calf injury, but I've heard a lot of podcasts and they've pretty much said this is good. Like they've done the right thing by letting Trindle take over the kicking, it takes the pressure off him. I'd be worried.
Yeah, I mean, if fortunately I talked you into Nath last week, and that wasn't because I had no idea about the kicking. I believe it's an adductor injury, but either way, it's a leg-based injury. He did forfeit the kicking after the first kick in the last trial with that tightness and went off early with ice on it. Obviously, no issue in his general gameplay, but he actually looked really good. I actually was quite impressed with his game. But yeah, the kicking, look, he's averaged a lot more than that in previous years, but that also included the kicking. So I wouldn't, if I was buying him this year, I wouldn't be thinking about taking the 15 off 75. I'd be thinking maybe take it off the sort of 85 that you were thinking he was going to get. Still leaves him underpriced. So I think the question is, I know that a number of podcasts, a number of other people have said it's a good thing, but I think he's one of those guys who's a confidence guy. Like I think he likes to be involved in everything. So when he's kicking, that helps him. It doesn't hurt him. He's not the best kicker in the league by any stretch, but he loves to be involved. Like there's a number of other guys who do that, who are similar. You know, like Latrell. I think when he's kicking or when he's involved in as much as possible, you don't need him to go back to the team huddle. And I think I know that there's been conversations around sort of Mitch Moses when he's given up the kicking this year, part of it being that he would go back to, you know, be able to talk to the team after they've and liaise with the team while Lomax takes the kick as a bit of a leadership thing. I get that Nico's a leader in that team, but the Sharks are a mature, experienced team. I don't think they need that. So I think it's one of two things. He's either about to get the kicking back or Trindle's won the kicking job. And I guess, he's a hold for me, but it's a worry, big worry.
Does it make Trindle interesting?
Immediately, it really does. He looked good on the weekend too.
Yeah.
Like, once again, the thing with Trindle is whether he's the better half or not in any team, he's a ball dominant half. Like he wants the ball.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think there's any issue with it if the Sharks are going to play like they did on the weekend. As you said, great game, and we both tipped the Sharks last week.
Put $100 on them.
Yep, but I actually am very impressed that they put 22 on the Panthers, who actually I actually thought the Sharks earned the 22, like they deserved 22. It wasn't given. The Panthers weren't poor. Outside of the first, Luke Garner getting caught on the first try that Hines got the try assist on, I thought they were pretty good. So, again, he has to sit on the wait and watch list, but he could be the type of guy that you can use to sort of bunny hop to someone else in a few weeks, because I don't know what is he priced at?
$550. We actually talked about him in the Halves podcast, and I did a post about him because the more I listened to it back, and I was thinking, geez, he probably is someone we should look at, but I think people are scarred from him from the past. I think the fact that he is kind of given the keys to that side, They did play Penrith on the weekend and scored 22 points. It is worrying for Hines, but at the same time, they play like that against a team that isn't as defensively good, then Hines is going to fall into so many points.
Yeah, well, I agree. And the other thing is, you know that the Sharks aren't going to score sort of less than, even if you were to say Trindle averaged, I don't know, 12 or 13 points a game from kicking, he's not going to be average less than that. So all you got to do is have a look at the games that he kicked in last year, which he did kick in some, and sort of work out, where that falls. But I would imagine there's at least 10 points of upside just in kicking alone.
Especially for a side like the Sharks.
Oh, they're going to we know they're going to keep scoring tries, right? Like the Sharks are just, especially against sort of bottom 10 teams, they're just going to run over them at times.
He's 553K. On the weekend, he scored only 57. Yeah. So he's got a bit of a flaw in him, but maybe with that kicking, it really pushes him up. Just want to talk about Nathan for a second. 68 points. I think if I didn't start with him, watching on the weekend, I'd be very either hesitant or trying to get him in as soon as possible. So I think I've definitely made the right decision there. Timmy started with Isaiah Yeo, and the people who started with Adam Fanua-Blake, you're rewarded for spending cash. So good luck to you guys, or well done, because I feel like that's a play that not many people were keen on doing. Yep. I had Brock Hutchinson, Brock Fit on TikTok. He messaged me saying, I'm going AFB, and I think he was going, he's going Horsburgh as well. And then I'm like, no, Terrell May. And he's like, I don't know, I'm just backing my gut on AFB. Fair enough. He sent me a screenshot after, and I'm like, fair play, you backed your gut. So Terrell May's only going to score 108 on the weekend, but
that's right, your dream. Yeah.
All right. We're going to do tipping point later, but I just want to point it out because got smashed.
Hammered. That's just an experienced campaigner against a rookie, and I'm hoping that I will do better for the boys this week, because that was a shellacking.
Yeah, you're playing for the boys, so the punishment is on the line at the end of the year. I've still got to do my cheeseburger challenge, which is a gimme I gave Timmy last year. But anyway.
So you keep reminding us, but you still haven't done it.
All right. The Roosters play the Broncos on Thursday night. I just want to point out quickly before I start this, the Dolphins and Rabbitohs game, we will be updated on that. Apparently there's a cyclone in the area. I don't know what's going to happen there. So for SuperCoach, we'll definitely keep updated. So if you are in the Patreon, in the WhatsApp, we'll give our live thoughts there and then. So the Roosters play the Broncos, and for the Roosters, Tedesco fullback, Tupou and Young on the wings. We've got Toya. Toya starts at centre, so that's a one tick for the cheapies. Toya is in. Mark Nawangawita-Wase in the centres as well, 430-odd K. Pretty decent purchase. Thoughts?
On those two, or just on Mark?
Just Mark. I think Toya's a lock. We don't really have to...
Yeah, look, from watching the trials... Toya trialled on the right. That right edge defense is horrible, but they're going to have to do some fixing there. Chad Townsend was actually the worst of a bad bunch on that side, and he should have been the best with the most experience. So I don't know what they're going to do there, but the fact that he played on the right says to me that Billy Smith will come in on the left when he does come back. And from what we've all heard, what's been out in the media, it seems like that's Billy Smith's spot when he comes back.
Yeah, so for sure.
There was a couple of articles around about Mark being quite versatile. Quotes from Trent Robinson. So I guess maybe he just is the guy who fills in that back line. He can fill in any spot. So he's a perfect kind of guy to have as your sixth man, if you will. A bit like how Manly has quite a bit of talent across their back line where they can drop a guy in and move people around with an injury. So I think I can't touch him at that price. If he was 230K, I'd take a risk on him.
You do say that he's a versatile guy. You think he's the guy that's going to drop out. But realistically, both of these guys, it's their first hit out in the NRL. They're both really they're playing for a position. So if one of them outplays the other, then there's a good chance that the other drops out. So I think what we can do, and by being versatile means he can play left, can play right. So I think this is potentially a bit scary for Robert Toya, but the fact that he's over 50% owned doesn't really matter for us.
Yeah, and he's that cheap. But look, if because he will get. You can guarantee there's injuries in that back line at some point during the year. Like, if it takes him 10 weeks to play 4 or 5 games and start making money or whatever, that's okay. No one's really bothered.
For Toya, yes.
For Toya. For Mark.
Nawangawita-Wase, if you're getting him, back him on talent rather than...
The only other thing that I'll add, what would have what would fill me with confidence is if he was a substantially better defender than Toya. He's not. He's not a great defender either. He's a great tackler, but he's clearly a rugby union convert. He tries hard. It's not a lack of effort, which is all you can ask as a coach, but he needs some reps and some work in that area as well. So does Toya, but there's not really a leader there.
Yeah. Sandon keeps the 5'8" spot. Chad Townsend in at the halves. How grim. Lindsay Collins and Nafahu White start. So Nafahu White at 367 with Spencer out. Connor Watson starts at hooker. Crichton and Bradley on the edges. Nat Butcher starts at lock. So Sil Wong goes to the bench. We've got Zach Docker-Clay, Blake Steep, and Celesi Focchetti. So for me, I'm looking at that. Connor Watson with Zach Docker-Clay on the bench. Does that mean he pushes into the middle rotation at some point, which, mind you, I think is a good thing? But there's a chance he doesn't play 80 minutes.
Yeah, I said in the after the last trial that Connor actually left my team, and that was purely because when they had the other young fella, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, he's not in the team list this week, Benny something, ISLU or something like that.
Yep.
He was named at 14. Zach's a good footballer as well. He's been around forever. He always plays in the Maori All Stars team every year. He's been at a few clubs, but he's always played good footy.
Zach Docker-Clay.
Yeah, he's
went to our school.
Yeah, went to school with him. So I think Connor. I just can't see how that bench is good enough to stop Connor to make Connor be able to have a rest. Like I don't see enough talent there to stop him. Even with Spencer back, I still think that's that there's a chance he plays 80, but yeah, the risk is there for sure.
I'm looking at their bench and look at their extended bench. Like I've heard of Ethan King because he's enough in SuperCoach a lot of the time, but this is why I tipped them for the bottom four because if they get any more injuries. And like they're already starting with Sandon and Chad Townsend, so it looks like maybe Connor Watson plays 6 if Sandon goes down, or I'm pretty sure they've got a younger
Zach
guy.
Zach can play in the halves as well.
Zach can play in the halves.
But yes, look, any injury in Connor's guaranteed 80. I can tell you that much. The only you asked about Sua Wong. I just don't think he trialled well enough to earn that. Like they gave him every chance, and it reminds me a bit of last preseason where a lot of people were quite high on him, and he is a good player. He had a really good run in the finals the year before. But he just doesn't find a way to cling on to that opportunity. Like he's been given a couple of good chances. Nat Butcher, they left on the bench in both trials, and Nat's so reliable that they've clearly gone that way.
I was surprised they didn't go with Nat in the trials anyway. So they gave him every opportunity to do it. But yeah, that's the Roosters. For the Broncos, Reece Walsh at fullback, in my side, very excited. Selwyn Cobbo and Jesse Arthur's on the wing. Jesse Arthur's any interest at $340K, playing on Ben Hunt's side of the field, which is very enticing for my opinion. And that left side is running at that right side that you thought was pretty dreadful.
Yes, but they can't play the Roosters every week. They do have a pretty good draw. They play a lot up in Queensland, as somehow they always seem to manage. Yes, Arthur's is interesting to me. He's just probably 4th in the CCW cheapies as I see it. So I've probably got Toya and Purdue, who we'll get to later. At 1 and 2, you can put them however you want. Maybe I would probably now have Purdue 1. And then I like Shibasaki more than I like Arthur's. It's not for any reason other than you save 110K as a cheapie. They're on the same side of the field. Shibasaki, from what I understand, has won that spot, and Staggs will come back on his right edge for Mariner.
So again, Shibasaki will play left.
Shibasaki will play on that left side as well. So
that's just as good as being
look,
Arthur's.
The way Ben Hunt and the Broncos historically play their shape, I can imagine Shibasaki's going to run a lot of decoys with Walsh being the sort of outside in and Walsh will be the inside out to put Arthur's away. I can definitely see Arthur's having a run, and I went through the stats today and I'll go very quickly through them. He's averaged 37 and 35 the last 2 years and mid-30s the 2 before that. In the year they made it to the grand final, 2023, he scored 8 tries and still only averaged 37. In last year, he only scored 5 tries in 19 games and averaged 35. So it seems that he's not SuperCoach relevant. The difference this year is that Ben Hunt shape, and I think he will get a lot of attacking stats. The key stat that I want everyone to know is that both years he peaked at 455K, pretty much exactly 455. So if you do want to start with him, he's just not a guy that you want to go, he's scored 3 tries in 3 weeks. I'm just going to keep holding him because he'll probably keep scoring. I reckon you just get to where that BE starts to get to the peak, and you got to know when to sell.
Yep.
But I'm starting Shibasaki because I got the extra 100K, and I don't need Arthur's who I would have as the fourth CTW.
Yep.
I don't need him in that fourth spot. Others may,
Yep.
like you possibly, or other people who've gone triple gun fullback at this stage, they might need that.
Yep. 100% agree. D. Mariner in at centre. Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds named in the halves. We've got Haas and Carrigan up front. Corey Pakes wins that hooker role. We've got Jack Gazewski and Jordan Ricky in at second row. Kobe Hetherington wins number 13. We've got Walters on the bench. Jensen, Willison, and Pierre Cora. So looks like we've got the Goz and Corey Pakes as cheapies, but Pierre Cora for the Goz scares me on the bench, and so does Billy Walters. It feels like that Corey Pakes and Walters could share 40-40, unless they see Walters as more a utility that can fill in at number 9.
Yeah, look, I think there's 3 guys that everyone's been talking about all preseason up at the Broncos, opportunity-wise: Pakes, Gashevsky, and Hetherington. I think this is a good bench for Hetherington, though I still don't see how he gets minutes. I mean, Carrigan's averaged 65 minutes the last 3 or 4 years in a row. Haas has averaged right around 60. That means there's only 35 minutes in your prop rotation, plus whatever Hetherington has. Now, Corey Jensen might not be the world's best footballer, but he's turned into a bloody good footballer.
Yeah.
So he's going to get minutes. Willison's a beast. They love him up there. He's kept Takura out the side. So it says to me that there's just not that middle rotation. Hetherington, I think, is not going to average less than what he did last year. Pakes, I can see him probably being a 50-30 minutes winner in that, with Walters also to cover any other injuries. If you've got Reynolds and Walsh in your back line, you're always a chance of an injury. And then, Gashevsky for me now is immediately a no. Even if it was like a 55-25 split with Pikura just coming on for that, his points per minute, he's never averaged over 0.7 points per minute.
Mm-hmm.
That's concerning for a forward.
Forward in Kobe?
No. Gashevsky playing on that edge.
Yep.
Even as an edge, 0.7. Like, if you were locked in for 80, fantastic. You're getting mid-50s out of him. But he's, there's no way that he plays enough minutes there. Ricky will get the 80 minutes out of the two of them.
At the price he's at, though,
for me, it's too much risk. The fact that Pikura wasn't named in any of the 17s sort of in the trials, and then is now in the 17. They've gone away from that 3 big man bench because Takura was the guy that they were naming, or Tapau and Takura. I think it says that how long does he have in the team? It's not so much the minutes. If we knew that he was just going to play those minutes, I think that what Madge wants is Pikura to really earn his spot. Yep. And I know a few people have talked about that. It's
his spot eventually.
I think so. Look, Gashevsky's obviously earned it. There's no denying it. He's not there as a throw-in. Like, Madge would be picking him because he thinks he's his best option defensively to start the year, especially.
Yep.
But I don't see Pikura being held out or not earning some more minutes off him as time goes by.
All right. Something to think about. The West Tigers play the Knights Friday, 6 o'clock. We've got Heath Mason at fullback. Bullett's still not back, not even on the extended. Obviously recovering from that surgery he had. Taruva and Skelton. Skelton gets a wing spot. I love that. Dewey and Fa'atape in the centres. We've got Galvin and Luai in the halves. Terrell May and Pole start up front. This podcast is brought to you by Carl McGrath. Get Carl to do your tax return and he'll legally maximize your tax refund. Whether it's a basic tax return or accounting for things like rental properties, capital gains on share trading or crypto trading, Carl can help you out and record everything correctly. No job is too big or small. If you have a small individual tax return, right through to businesses run through company, partnership or trust, even self-managed super funds, Carl can help you out. Being a small business himself, you'll be speaking directly to the owner who will do your work. No work is done overseas or done by junior staff. Carl will do everything himself. No matter where you are in Australia, Carl can help you out. FaceTime, Zoom, he can help you out no matter where you are. He's even a super coach, so he'll probably chat your ear off about SuperCoach in the process. Being small, Carl has very few overheads, so he can pass on the savings to his client. If you need more than just a tax return, Carl can help you out with the aspects of accounting like BAS lodgement or data entry. For listeners of the podcast, I have a special offer for you, $110 for a basic tax return. Even if your return is more complicated, he will look after you for price. Just mention the SuperCoach Experience podcast when you chat to him. If you want Carl to do your tax refund, head over to his Facebook, which is in the description, or give him a call on 0401 044 839.
SuperCoach-wise, he's a guy that, as we talked trades between now and the end of round before round 3. Sorry, and I think if you've got 6 trades between now and round 3, you can use them all. So I know that sort of Starling move. Maybe now what it means is you can look at your hooker position and go, who do I think is going to score the most points in the first 2 weeks, and then I'll save a trade and go. I will go to Starling if he looks as good as he is. Maybe you can jump on a high scoring option early, and I don't know. There's some tactics around those sorts of trades early. Now that that's the advantage. There's lots of disadvantages of the split first round, but that's a huge advantage. Is that we can see that sort of stuff.
It's massive.
Yep.
For the Dolphins play the Rabbitohs on Friday night, potentially 8 p.m. I don't know what's going to go on there, to be honest.
So what the most recent that we've got, and we're just after team list on Tuesday, is that there's talk of either them playing to an empty stadium, so there's no danger to fans, or the game being suspended and moved to a later date, which could result in something like a double round where both teams play twice in 1 week. What we do know at this point, or what my recommendation is, and you can have yours as well, Savs, is I would stay away from having a whole heap of Bunnies, Titans, and Dolphins. You just want to juggle how many of them you have, assuming we get that information. We will get that information before the round starts, I would say. They need time to prep it.
We'll probably get it today or
I would think
tomorrow.
So if they cancel it, just steer clear of having, 5.
Move it to Sydney.
Yeah,
what's going on?
I just think they probably left it too late. If they did, it's hard to track the cyclone. It is.
Yeah.
It has changed directions and landfalls and all that sort of fancy stuff they talk about. But I think the AFL and the NRL both have sat on their hands just a little bit to sort of maybe to hope that it didn't end up as bad as it was. And look, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but my recommendation is if you've got Farnworth and Tino and Campbell or Campbell Graham and Jaden Campbell, if you've got 4 of them guys, just have a good think about how many of them you can wear in not playing round 1.
Cheapy wise, I think it's fine.
Yeah. All your cheapies go for 100%.
For the Dolphins, the hammer at fullback, we've got Junior Tupou and Jermaine Asako on the wings, Herbie Farnworth and Jake Averillo in the centres. We've got Nicarima and Isaiah Katoa in the halves. Daniel Safidi starts with Felice Kafusi up front. We've got Jeremy Marshall-King in at 9, Kilu Kefu Fini Fuiaki at the edge, Max Plath on the edge, Tom Gilbert starts at lock and captain, Kurt Donahue, Connolly Lemu-Elu, Mark Nichols and Ray Stone. Kenny Bromwich, Josh Kerr, Harrison Graham all miss out. It's pretty deep depth there, but the big one here, I like Tom Gilbert as captain there, and I think in your team reveal you said you got him, so
sure do.
What's the plan here?
Yeah, well, if talking to that plan of not having too many of those guys, Tom Gilbert won't be leaving my side. I think he's just good value. I think the bench is quite middle heavy, but I don't know how they're gonna play Marshall King this year. It's a different coach. Does he get 80? Does he only get 55, 60? Donahue can play everywhere across the back line. He's even trialled at fullback this year. I think Gilbert's in for me. But, there's lots of good options in that price range. So I don't think he's a must by any stretch, but he's in for me.
Yeah, for sure. Not much else for the Dolphins, to be honest, for me.
Yeah, I think Bostock's out. So that will probably be where Junior Tupou...
There was talk that he was going to play centre in the preseason. So I guess we see where Herbie and Averillo line up. If Herbie lines up on the right and Averillo's on the left, I think that means Tupou has the spot.
I'm expecting Herbie on the right this year to go inside Asako, which is a pretty interesting SuperCoach side of the field in general. I'd love to start with Herbie. He'd be awesome, but it's just one of those guys that's probably priced about right, and I can't go to him. The only thing that I would flag to people, and I know that he's been popular, is Fine Fuiaki. That Lemuel on the bench scares me off. There's even if Lemuel comes on for Plath, there's a chance that Fine Fuiaki still loses minutes.
I had Fine Fuiaki in my side, and when I saw Plath was named in the second trial, I went straight to Kobe Hetherington after I saw the Broncos trial. So I'm pretty happy to do that. For the Bunnies, we've got Jai Gray at fullback, Isaiah Tuss and Tyrone Munro on the wings. We've got Jack Whiten and Campbell Graham gets a start. Cody Walker and Jamie Humphries in the halves. We've got Sean Kepi and Davey Mawali start. Pete Mamazelis at hooker. We've got Keon Kalamatangi and Jai Arrow on the edges. Lachlan Hubner gets start at number 13. We've got Jaden Sullivan, Saliva Havili, Tallis Duncan on the bench, and Tavita Totola. So I think this says a lot about what preseasons these guys are having. I think Totola and Duncan look like they probably haven't had an outstanding preseason, because I would have expected them to get a starting spot if they did. But Hubner must have impressed. He's in my side straight away.
Yeah. Look, I had a look at his stats. He's another guy whose PPM isn't amazing. It's solid, but it's not amazing. So I don't know what to quite make of that at the moment. You've still got Ewan Aitken to come back. Totola's obviously had that quite brutal foot injury that he's struggled to get over. So look, the pack is about what we expected, I would say. The interesting thing is that they've gone for They have gone for a genuine sort of 9 backup, and I've been critical of Jaden Sullivan at times as an when he was with us at the Dragons, that he probably didn't quite hit his heights, and obviously that carried forward to the Tigers. But he was actually a really good 14 for us when he played there. He's actually not a bad 9. So I'm now, that makes me at least question how much Peter Mamazoulos is going to be on the field. Hopefully it's a 60-20 split, and at 300k it's still good value. But I can see Sullivan stealing minutes. He's played some really good games as a 9 or as a 14 in the 9 role.
Yeah, for sure. Jamie Humphries, number 7.
Yep.
Do you read anything into this?
I do. I think he should have. I think he should have won that spot on merit. I think Dodd was nowhere in the preseason. Humphries has been excellent all preseason. Like when they played us in Charity Shield, he came on and changed the game for them.
Yeah,
they scored 20 quick points, 16 quick points off the back of him mostly.
Yep.
I think that doesn't. Dodd hasn't had enough opportunity to show who he is, but it wouldn't surprise me if they come out and if they play this game and make a good account of himself if Humphries sticks. So, yeah, I actually like that. I think that makes their right side a little bit more dangerous as well, because I wouldn't be anywhere near as worried about Dodd.
What do you do there with Jamie Humphries' names? Obviously, we've seen him, and I think a lot of people would be a lot more comfortable playing a Jamie Humphries than a Tom Duffy that we haven't seen at NRL level for too much. What do you do there?
We'll get to sort of maybe Duffy in a little bit more detail when we get there, but at the moment I'm going to stick with Duffy.
Yeah, me too.
And I've got nothing against anyone starting with Humphries if you're just a bit more risk averse, but Humphries I think is actually under a little bit more role pressure, which sounds funny to say because he's got more experience. He's had one NRL game, and he's a bit older, but I think he's actually I think the amount of money they're paying Dodd, and him coming from England, they got to give him a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I think he could build up a really nice combination on that right side. From what I understand, Keon's playing on the left, so Arrow and Campbell Graham, Isaiah Tass. It's not a bad edge. It's actually quite a decent little edge they're building there. So if they show any signs of life on that right side, Wayne's not stupid. He's been around the block more than all of us combined. So if he sees the things that he likes, I reckon he sticks.
I reckon they come out and do well, to be honest.
Look, I don't think the Dolphins are... I mean, they've got some really great names in their side, and they've got some entertainers in their side. But I think that's potentially, depending on how Latrell comes back, I think we're looking at 2 sides that will be in the bottom 4 or 5 until Latrell's back, at least. That's where I see both teams at the moment.
Yep. The Dragons take on the Bulldogs, 5:30 Saturday. We've got Gutho at fullback for the Dragons, Matt Finney and Christian Tuipulotu on the wing. Sione Finau misses out. Yep. Devastating because I was pretty excited to have him.
Yeah, as a cheapie. But Tuipulotu was our best left winger last year, and I think he deserves it.
For sure.
Matt Finney's there for defensive purposes, and it makes sense to me.
For sure. Moses Sully and Holmes in the centres. We've got Flanagan and Ilias in the halves. Toby Couchman and Emre Gula in the front row. We've got Cook in hooker, Luciano Leilua and Jaden Sewer on the edges. Jack DeBellin at 13. Jacob Little on the bench. Ryan Couchman gets a go on the bench. Raymond Fatala Mariner and Hamish Stewart. The first guy I want to talk about here is Emre Gula. He's in my side. Yep. 330k at the front row. I think we didn't quite get the front row cheapies we wanted. For 37k more, I could probably go Nafahu White, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel Gula's a good buy.
Yeah, no, I've actually got no issue with that. I think that he'll play at least 40 minutes, maybe even sort of early 40s, and it'll be pretty much a minute split there. I think Catchman will get the most minutes of the two front rowers, but yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, I wouldn't pick him as your fourth. I've seen teams with him as their fourth front rower, and I think that's overkill. I do not think you should be spending over 300k as your fourth front rower.
No,
at all. So, but yeah, if you're the team who started with May and Hawes, or you've got Tino in your third front row spot, and you can move him into the back row and sort of then use him and Hawes as sort of a rotation between those, I think he's a great third front rower.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have him as number 2 or number 4.
No, for sure. Ryan Couchman, 265.
Preston is one of the 6 guys at the moment who will leave my side. I think
Oh.
stability. Yeah, I don't see the upside there.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll lose money. I just don't see the upside.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's a massive blow for the pretenders.
It is a
Maybe they are pretenders.
yeah, I've been in the past.
I just wanted to flag Harry Hayes on the bench. 369k is a bit much, in my opinion, but he's only available at centre wing.
Yeah.
But he will play middle, so I think that's just a bit interesting to... Fuck off, Dad. He always calls me during the podcast. He knows I'm doing the...
Makes a note for it.
He probably does. But yeah, this is the game, courtesy of Picklebet, that I think that the Dragons will win at $2.50.
Yeah, look, I give us a good chance. I think the Dogs are a really tough beat anytime you play them, but I'd rather play them in round 1 than somewhere else. The only other dog that I want... one bit of information. Jacob Curaz, it's come out today that his injury is not a back injury. He's got a debilitating hip injury, and he will deal with that for the rest of his career. So I don't know what that means. It's a pain tolerance.
Could be
thing.
back next week.
Well, no, it is a pain tolerance thing. So it's something that he will be able to play with for the rest of his career, but it's something that will impact him for his whole career.
Right. Yeah. So like, I'm pretty sure Gus came out and said, "Oh, I don't know. Ask him when he comes back," because he knew it was a pain tolerance thing. But the fact that has come out means he probably will be available sooner rather than later.
Yeah. He'll definitely be available. The question is, can we trust that?
Yeah.
Can you trust an injury like that, like week in, week out? If you're buying him at the price he's at, you got to be able to trust him to not only perform but just to play. If he needs a week off here and there because it's so bad that week or something, he wakes up and it's in the wrong, something like that. Like, I can't afford to pay that much. If he was $550, I could.
Even like, I feel like he's someone to watch, and potentially a price drop is incoming. But we've seen him drop off every single end of the year because of injury, and I don't like that version of Karaz because the base is completely down. I'll get the numbers and put in Patreon by the end of the week, but I'm pretty sure, especially in the 2023 season, the back end, his base was awful.
And the other guy that's interesting, and I know a number of people who have him, Connor Tracy, because he's a fullback available at centre wing. He is interesting. He did have that one really big 170 score last year that probably boosted his average. I think that's fair to say. I think he only averaged 60 for the season. Look, I think he's only going to get better having a full preseason at fullback. He did rotate. He did start the season on the wing last year. Interesting. Not interesting enough for me to start with, but interesting. He's just a little bit expensive compared to some of the other guys who are, 50 to 150k cheaper.
I'm trying to get my notes for the Centre Wing podcast, but I can't find them, eh?
It's okay. We can always.
I can't find them.
We can always. We're always happy to chat in there.
I was so keen on him, but then I looked into him and I'm like, I'm pretty sure there was like 4 or 5 scores in the 30s or lower. So
I can get his actual scores up and just have a quick look. I reckon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There looks like there's about 8 scores lower than 40 last year.
Yeah.
But only 5 of those were at fullback. He started the year on the wing and he scored 3 scores under 40. So, even 5 scores under 40 is in sort of 16 games is quite a lot for a fullback, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's concerning to me.
All right, moving on. Manly play the Cowboys at home at 4 Pines Park on Saturday night. Tommy starts a fullback at where he should be. We've got Saab, and Lehigh gets a gig on the wing. Very good there. Cooler and Garrick get the centre spots. We've got Brooks and Daly Cherry Evans in the halves. Paseka and Takiaho get the starting spot. We've got Jazz Tavanga at hooker. Ben Trebojevic and Homolio Kawatu on the edges. Jake Trebojevic at lock. Jake Simkin, Corey Waddell, Ethan Bullymore, and Tuafofa Sipley. Jazz Tavanga, 360k, not available at hooker.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit strange, isn't it? Not for me. I just think with Simkin on the bench and probably, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think in the past he's been very Supercoach friendly,
Yeah.
But in the last few years it's just dropped off heaps.
A bit like Aaron Clark. If he played at
Yeah.
lock and he was going to get minutes in a team, like I actually think he's good value. I've had him in Supercoach before, and
Yeah.
I love his style.
Yeah.
Like watching him play the game is very different to his Supercoach score at the end of the game. You just go, how did he not score more?
Yeah. Takiaho gets a starting spot. I like this for Manly, 450k. In the trials, he actually scored 56 Supercoach points.
Yep.
So, maybe we've got to look at him a bit more seriously than what we thought. But for me, he's more of a watch.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's a bit older. It was good when he used to goal kick occasionally for the Chooks.
Oh, that was the best
That
time,
was awesome.
wasn't it?
But no, look, with Paseka back, with Jake probably going to play, he didn't play 80 in the trials. They've just got so many, like Olakwatu's another 80-minute forward.
Yep.
Burbo will play decent minute. Like, they've just got so many, similar quality options. Oh, that's a bit unfair on a couple of those guys. But, they've got a lot of options. Even their bench is pretty good. That's not a bad NRL bench by any stretch. That's very experienced and a lot of versatility. So I don't think there's much to write home about here. I think we all know who Manly's players are. I think we all want a piece of them early with the draw. Lehigh Hopewade deserves that spot, and he's probably the most interesting. It's hard to work out how we can afford him, but very interesting.
589k. I think you're starting with Tommy, you're starting with Garrick. Some of us have Olakwatu. Yeah. Can you really go another Manly player, especially if they flop?
I can't, but I can understand it completely. Understand it. It's just, I'm happy myself with just Tommy and Ruben, and I'll just ride that. And if it's not enough, well, at least I've got the good pieces of it. I think.
100%. Yeah. Nothing else there. The Lehigh was the one I wanted to touch on, but we already did that. For the Cowboys, Drinky starts at fullback. Braden Burns wins the wing spot. Got him in draft.
Well done. That was a good pick.
It
was right. That was who I was going.
Yeah.
And you picked the pick before me.
Yep.
Well done.
I went Kinney as well. Pretty early.
That was a dog act.
Yeah, we were talking about it in last week.
No, I knew exactly what it was, and that was a dog act.
Yeah.
Well played.
Oh, shit. Hello. I just need to make sure I didn't kick the cords off.
Again.
Sorry, I keep kicking them. I'm very fidgety when I sit down. Jackson Purdue at centre. He's won the cheapie role. We've talked about him all preseason. 250k. How good. Viliami Valia in the centres. Tom Dearden and Tom Duffy, number 7. I guess I'll just go to it straight away.
Let's do it.
Straight away. Number 19, Jake Clifford.
Yeah. That's the big one, isn't it? Obviously awaiting final teams. I really can't imagine them to a guy who hasn't played an NRL game.
Yeah.
Naming him at 7 and then leaving him out. Unless
it wouldn't
freak injury or something like that. That's the only reason.
It wouldn't make sense
Not
to
at all.
name him at 7 at all. That's so unfair.
And the fact
it's like who are you hiding?
Yeah.
Like who
exactly.
are you protecting
so
by doing that?
I don't know who Clifford plays, who the feeder club is and who his Q Cup is. I would like to have a look and make sure that he actually is named there as well. Like it's not just he's close, we'll name him and then drop him in the first cut or something. And it's actually because he is coming back from that injury. Same as a few of the others. But this is what we needed. We said this last week. We needed Clifford to be named and to have not won, Duffy to have won the spot. I honestly thought his trial against the Storm was as good a game as a young half can have against a very good side who, whilst it was a trial game and the Storm don't give a rat's about a trial game, they do give a rat's about that first 30 minutes of a trial game. And he owned them in that stage. I thought he was excellent. So, I mean, where some of us might be feeling a little bit lucky because Hines and Cleary have already played and we really needed that. But, I mean, that's what the signs said. We all thought after the last trial that he would probably win it. And he's going to be, again, like Metcalf, a goal-kicking half, but instead this time it's 198k.
I'll tell you what I like about him as well. In the trials, watching him, usually the worry about these young halves is their body shape just isn't suited for NRL. They're very small. He is tall.
Yeah, he looks like he's grown into a man's body already. So, I mean, just that for me. It's an easy one. Thank God, but awesome.
We will talk about it later, but he's someone I'm heavily considering reserving.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think Manly I'd be interested in seeing what your other reserves are and who you're not picking. But I wouldn't be far away. I think the Cows are going to lose a lot of games this year, 30 to 26 or whatever. Like they're going to put points on. They're going to concede a few, but they're going to put points on.
100%. Jordan McLean and Sam McIntyre start up front. Reece Robson at hooker. Bateman and Nanai on the edges. Ruben Cotter at lock. Carl Lawton, Harrison Edwards, Griffin Neem, Cohen Hess on the bench. We've got Taumalolo in the extended. Not much Supercoach-wise there. I think Duffy and Purdue are the big ones.
Yeah, you got the two back rowers that people are keen on, Nanai as a pod and Bateman because he's up there. I think Bateman, that's a full forward bench. Robson's going to play 80. Again, I think both the edges actually might play 80, and it might be literally a 4 middle rotation on the bench with Lawton a bit as a utility and able to cover positions. But, yeah, the Cowboys will go as Drinkian did and take him this year. And if Duffy goes along for the ride, I'm very interested in it.
100%. Yep. Very excited to watch that game on the weekend for both sides, to be honest. Melbourne play Parramatta for the last game of the round, 4 o'clock on Sunday. By the way, how good was an 11 a.m. game?
Yeah, and can we just, I know the NRL probably hears this a million times, but why don't we just have the 2 o'clock kickoff if it's the only game on a Sunday? Everyone likes the early kickoff on a Sunday. The 4 o'clock slot, you're either out doing something or you're not quite yet back from doing something. Get that early kickoff.
Yeah, and they wait till daylight savings, but the weather looks pretty grim in Sydney at the moment, so at least they're playing in Melbourne. Yeah. For the Melbourne Storm, Pappenhausen is named round 1, Warbrick and Coates on the wing, Meaney, Howarth centre, Munster, Hughes halves, Stefano King front row, Harry Grant hooker, Sean Bloor, Eli Katoa, Trent Liero, Tyron Wishart, Alec McDonald, Tui Kamika, Lazarus Va'alepu. Could it be any more boring?
No, they're right up there with the Sharks team list last week. I think with the round 2 bye, it's not that they're not relevant. It's just you've got to carry them through the bye. If you're a team who hasn't gone for any Titans, or you're not interested in any Titans, and you like a guy like Cam Munster, I think he's a great pod.
I like Cam Munster too. I think he moved well. We didn't really talk about it in the wrap up, but all we wanted to see was him moving freely, and I think he did.
Yeah, no, it looks good. No, you're right.
Do you think the round 2 bye is just putting a lot of people off?
It probably is, which makes him a great pod, right? But they've also got a very tough draw. They have Penrith the week after that. So I'd actually count that as almost, basically 2 buys. It's hard. I'd play Munster if I had him in round 3 against Penrith. But I would do it unwillingly. And I think that's if it wasn't that, if it was an easy game in round 3, yeah, sure. But not for me. I think one guy that hasn't been spoken about, I know people have talked to death about Stefano. Harry Grant is Harry Grant. If you want to start with him, I think there's no issue with that. Sean Bloor, I think, might, with Cam Munster on his inside, might be in for a decent season. I owned him at points last year. I think he's a good footballer. He has a bit of the Kelmatua lungies about him. He can go missing, but he talked about getting a bit of a serve after the grand final last year, not particularly for performance, but just for little effort things he missed, and he talked about how hard he's worked on that stuff in the off-season. They all talk that sort of stuff at this stage.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford Katoa and you want a piece of something, maybe having the guy just off Cam Munster's left hip isn't a bad idea. He
was very solid last year.
Yeah.
He had a couple of games where he scored 31 and 38. 38 was his first outing. He scored 41 in his last game, 38 against Penrith. The thing that worries me here, he only played 2 80-minute games.
Yeah, he's often the guy.
Four.
He's often the guy who gets taken. He's not going to. Katoa's not going to go off, and quite often they were, they were rotating him off. He often was gassed at the end of games. But again, it was his first season in Melbourne.
Yep.
And we saw how Katoa was used in his first season at Melbourne versus second. I think there's a case for.
So is this the year that Bloor finally comes out and really cements his spot? Because
I don't think he's a Katoa, put it that way. But
he's
it
not
wouldn't
that type
shock
player,
me if he's average. Similar to what sort of the numbers we're talking about with Dewey, goal kicking or not for Dewey. I think there's a bit of value there. I think there's a bit of value in Bloor, but I'm not. I can't start with him. I can't start with Howarth. I can't start with these guys who I think there's value, because that value might these guys you might pick up in round 4 or 5 for about the same price, and then they go on a run. So that's what I'm thinking with Melbourne.
Yep. All right, for the Parramatta Eels, Yongi. The big one, huge. I guess we knew he was going to get named, so it's not really huge. Sean Russell and Jake Tungo. Jake Tungo's a cheapie, 280K. Plays that right side, and depending on where Adokar ends up, he could have won that spot. I think Riles really rates him and
Yeah.
has rate what he's done in the preseason.
Yep. Well, earlier in the preseason, the talk was that Adokar was switching wings to play on the right, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I heard that recently as well. But how long's Adokar out for? 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, how long's a piece of string? If he comes, if it all goes to plan, and he does come back, and like you never know with these with injuries with that sort of stuff.
He's not injured, is he? He's suspended.
Oh yeah, suspended. Sorry, yeah. So you do know.
Jesus, I thought you were around everything. I was asking you. We got Dylan Brown and Ronald Volkman starts at number 7.
Yep.
Huge. I was actually going to start with Dylan Brown, and he's still in my side currently. But I mean, Volkman did a good job in the trials, I guess. So it doesn't really change too much. But
No, it doesn't. But
it does put me off slightly.
Yeah, well, it possibly puts you off Dylan Brown. Look, what it means is we don't know when Moses is back because that injury isn't actually an injury. It's soreness in the foot from his from the plate that he's got in that in the his foot injury. Yeah, it's soreness around a previous injury where he's still got the plate in. So I think the NRL physio did a piece on it, so if people want to go and check that out, we know how good he is with his information. But the concern for me there leads to, if it's not just a 1 week thing for Mitch Moses, it's not a great thing for Para, and Volkman did fine in the trials. He's not a bad footballer by any stretch. He's still quite young, but that's Kelma Tuolangi's side. What does it mean for his upside early in the season?
Oh, shit. Well. I'm going to have to speak to some people. I have a contact with Parramatta, so I'm going to message him straight away. And just about the couple of things we've asked, like Adokar. But Jack Williams, number 11, I'm very keen on him. Number 11, we do have Madison on the bench and Dury. And Charlie Geimer, who has been tipped to play edge during the season. But this could be good. This could mean he plays a bit on the edge, has a chance to have some attacking stats early, and then move into the middle where he could really bump up that base. No treble. I've been very keen on him, and I think with Tuolangi potentially being someone who you don't really want to... Like, that 5 points in the second trial was very concerning.
Yeah.
And my saving grace for Tuolangi, which I hadn't thought about till now, was Moses.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. He's still in my... I haven't taken him out based on this, but it's heavy. It'll be under heavy consideration.
I'll message this Parramatta guy, and I'll try and gauge how long Moses is out for. I'm sure he probably doesn't know, but
it's all right.
It's good to get a gauge.
Yeah, we can only try. Look, with the dual hookers at Para, and we'll get to Riley Smith probably in a minute. There is definitely going to be a few more minutes in the forward pack, because previously at times they've run an 80-minute hooker. I watched Charlie Geimer play last year because I brought him in when he made his debut, and it was only because I needed a cheapie who was actually playing as well. He looks like Ben Hennett, to be fair. Or Aidan Tolman, like someone like that. I don't think he's really an edge unless he's slimmed up. Then maybe. Madison hasn't played on the edge in quite a while, but we know Dury is an edge. So it says to me that there's some minutes they're going to be given up somewhere. I have no idea how they're going to rotate. They didn't use some of these guys that didn't really play much in the preseason, and this is how they've named them. So I think Para are going to be a wait and watch, but one of those two guys, Williams or Tuolangi, is going to be good value. I know Tuolangi goes missing, and we've talked about that a few times now that I've been in. But his base power stats don't say that. Like, his season-long base power is always around that 0.75 mark, and that's pretty good for a guy who gets attacking stats as well. Like, you're looking at a guy whose PPM is often up near the 0.9 mark. If he gets anywhere near that 80 minutes, he's good value. But yeah, it's concerning for sure. Very concerning.
We've got Riley Smith on bench, not named in SuperCoach. I assume he'll be 198k available hooker.
Definitely.
Did he get named at second row as well, potentially? I don't know.
I mean, if they give him a duel, it's an absolute win for us. If you're listening, Tom Sangster, if you can put him as a front row and hook a duel, that'd be great. So I can have him at front row 4. Look, that'd be the dream, but it's not going to happen. So yeah, rumors are he beat all the fitness test records at Para.
Yeah.
All Gutho's records. He's a 9, so that's a pretty good effort. He's only like 18 or not. Like, he's a young guy as well.
No, he's 21.
Yeah,
22?
he's young, right? Like
Yeah.
this is his first foray into it. So, for me, he's actually quite interesting. Like, I know that I said not to go with Paddy last week, but from what I understand at Para, he will get more minutes to start with than Paddy. Might not be
I think so too.
significantly more, but he will get more.
I think there's a good chance that he comes on 25-minute mark.
So
maybe.
then you look at guys who are like
in the trials, he was very good.
excellent, and style wise, like he's in everything. He's goes a mile a minute. So I think if you look at the structure of your team, I don't think you could go Riley Smith and Sandon Smith at 9. If you are, you crazy. I love it, like good on you, but I couldn't do that personally. But if you don't trust Duffy, or if you don't trust Sandon, and you want him as your hooker number 2, I say go for it. Like, I don't have an issue with him. I actually, it's not that I prefer him to Paddy, because Paddy's looked just as good in the preseason, but role wise and minute wise to start, I can see a case for Riley. I couldn't see a case for Paddy last week.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's very interesting. I think you've definitely got to watch him. I think we've got enough like cheapies to go off at the moment.
I really like Hopgood there as well.
Yeah, Hopgood with that bench. I was just about to say, looks really good.
So if there are minutes being stolen by someone off of the edge and they've got a 9, like if Dury's only playing on an edge and they've got Smith and Hands sharing minutes, who do you think is going to get all those? You know, who's going to be playing 60, 65 minutes? Jermaine Hopgood.
Yeah, for sure. Charlie Geimer, 2 games for 37 and 40 last year in 40 minutes.
Is that a 1 point per minute kind of guy?
He plays 40?
I can't see it in that team right now, just because I can't see it.
Do you think the fact he's named at number 17 kind of says that too? Like, I don't know. I don't usually read into that, but...
I mean, it often does. Look at Val Lepu.
Yeah, exactly.
And look at Hamish Stewart in naming the Dragons. Like, I get that, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe... Like, Dury, I don't think Dury's ahead of him in the middle rotation, put it that way.
No.
Like, I think Madison and Geimer are the first 2 bigs first 2 middles off the bench, so... Yeah, I don't know. I can't give you an honest answer there, but I think he'll get minutes. I just don't think... I think he might start it at, 30 minutes or 35 minutes.
Yeah. What a headache. What a headache. Jesus Christ. All right. That's the team list. That is the team list. So we're now moving on to the tipping point because that is the segment. Last week, 4 out of 5, I got up, and I was 2 points off Cleary. I was Cleary updates off getting you 5 out of 5 as well. So,
and I know we didn't go into detail on him, but he was in everything for Penrith. It was exactly what I thought looking at him last week, like that role progression to him being the option 1, 2, and 3 basically for them. He got a couple of. I mean, he should have had a 40-20.
Yeah,
they don't check those. That's fair enough. That's footy. He almost had a try. The Kennedy knockout, he was the one who grounded it, but it wasn't given. And he had 3 try contributions where it was all him, but by the letter of the law to SuperCoach, it was the right decision. So it wasn't like, you can talk luck, you can talk hypotheticals, but in terms of touches in like areas where you want him getting touches, I can see a big score coming very shortly.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Don't they play the Roosters in round 2?
They do. They do. So Nathan Cleary, I went over 70 points, you went under, so you got it there. Corey Horsburgh, I went over 55, you went under. To be fair, I thought he was going to get it in the first 30 minutes, but he had a pretty extended stint off in the second half. Luke Metcalf, I went under 55.
Good call.
You went a bit high there. Nico, I went under 60. You went over, but this is you assuming you had the goal kicking. So had he got the goal kicking, could have been a different story. So I think I got lucky there. And Owen Paddy, I went under 25. You went over. Just obviously how the role and how it played out. But this week, we're going to do Iongi, Terrell May, Tom Trbojevic. We're also going to do Tom Duffy. And there was another one who... Hold on, let me just get it up.
Oh, mate, you're meant to be the guy with the run sheet, aren't you?
Yeah, I was. Tom Duffy and... no, we're not doing Purdue. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go. Do we go Skelton?
You pick someone interesting. Everyone will tell you if it's interesting or not.
Let's go Toya.
We should get a bit. Yeah, that's not a bad one. Let's go Toya. I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
Should get a bit of feedback on some good options during the week, maybe from the Patreon and let them pick it. Or
Yeah,
something
the
like that, maybe.
Patreon can pick.
I think that would be good.
I think that's a great
Good
idea.
addition.
All right. So Iongi, let's start at 45 points. Or do you want to start since you lost last week?
I'm okay with that. I think you do a pretty good job of it. So I'll go over 45.
All right. So
I have to give you a number first, mate. I can't just say
Yeah.
over 45. I'll go 50.
you go 50.
Yeah, Melbourne away.
I'll go over 55.
I'll take unders on that. I want it to happen though, but I'll take unders.
Yeah.
I'll win either way.
I want under to happen, to be
Yeah.
honest.
So I don't know why you took overs, but thank you. I'll take it because I win either way now.
Terrell May, I'll set the line at. I'll go over 108.
Well, I'll take unders on that,
Yeah.
but I honestly think that if you set the line, I would have gone over 80
Yeah.
this week. I think that's about. I'd be happy with 80 this
Yeah.
week.
Tom Duffy.
Do you want me to set the number this time?
Oh, sorry.
I'm
I'll
happy to.
start at 35.
Yeah, I'll go overs, and I'll actually go 50.
I'm thinking over 55.
I'll go overs, but I'll only go 58.
Okay, I'll go under 58.
Yeah.
Under 58. Let's go Robert Toya. I'll start the line at 30 points.
I'll go over 45.
I'll go under.
I have a feeling that if that game's as open as I think it is, he'll have a good base power game.
Yep.
He'll have he'll have a fair bit of traffic his way as well.
Yep.
So, but yeah, good one. I don't mind that. I think those are all actually. I think I had a better
We've got
week
one
than
more.
last week.
Tom Trebojevic.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. You said him, mate. He's your boy.
I'm setting the line at 45. I'm not sure how he's going to go against the Cowboys, to
All
be
right,
honest.
I'll go.
I think the Cowboys could surprise us
Yeah,
in the
that's
first
fair.
few weeks.
And I'll go over. It's at 4 Pines, and it's expected to be a bit wet. I'll go over 65.
I'll go over 70.
I'll go. That is really close to where I want to go. I'll go over. I'll go. No, I'll take you at 70. I'll go unders at 70.
I was hoping you'd
Yeah,
just take
no,
it.
I'll go unders at 70. That's close. I actually looking at his name this preseason have thought I reckon he's going to get somewhere between 65 and 75 round one. That's where I think he'll be. So
Yeah. That's why I haven't put any captaincies on him. Vice Captain Cleary, Captain Terrell. Although Reece Walsh really intrigues me. For
I
round
don't
one.
blame you. I did try. I know you wanted to you got excited about getting Cleary in last week. I did try and tell you the old VC Walsh.
To be honest, I didn't really think about it, and I'm glad I haven't opened myself up for it because with a score of Leitau's 33 and Metcalf's 12, I think this is a certain time where I don't really want to take the loop.
Yep.
I think if you've got one score in the bank, it's a one shit score in the bank. It's a bit more tempting.
Yep.
Because you can just rely on the rest of your players. But I think with two already shit scores, it's round one, we're going to get more. So I think let's just go the straight captain and not really have to risk it because, Metcalf's is going to drop out. Your automotive is actually probably going to come in. Could be a 13.
Yeah.
So
what are you on at the moment? What have you scored after
175?
But you've got Metcalf to drop out. So what are you 3 for 175?
To be honest, I haven't really looked at it too much because
I just know that I've only had Cleary and Horsburgh play by the fact that I've already mentally removed Metcalf from my side.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm 3 for 162 then.
Yeah, I don't
so
think
I've got
terrible.
Horsburgh, Leitau and Cleary.
Yeah.
So I feel like Leitau at 33 is the only disappointing one, but like 33 is still not awful.
No, not
someone
really.
gets. I was saying to Timmy, I'd be happy with 45, but what's that? 12 points.
Yeah, I mean, you make that back if you just pick one guy who not many people have who goes off. I'm 2 for 129, so basically less Leitau out of one. But the thing is, for the rest of my weekend, similar to most people, you don't want another really low score because you can't have 2 drop out.
Yep.
So you're right about the vice captain conundrum. So anyone who's planning on running sort of a Ponga or a Walsh into Turbo as captain, you're going to have to consider that if you do loop and which brings in an AE and your lowest AE is 20 or something like that, they're still going to be, Metcalf will still be the one that drops out, not your AE, which is a huge upgrade from last year.
Yep.
Last year it just would have been you get your AE no matter what, but it's worth considering because the person that you drop out of your team to make that loop happen, if they get 45 in week 1, that's a big miss. Yeah,
exactly.
So,
who's your captain? Still Terrell?
Yeah, still Terrell. I won't
Still
change
Terrell.
it. And the weather being around only makes me more certain that I just want to go in.
When we did the chat last week, he was at 0.2.
Yep.
Guess what he's at now?
2.5%.
No, we haven't influenced that much. 0.3.
That's good. It's not that I didn't think we influenced it.
I'm like watching it, just hoping it doesn't go up
just
much
thought
more.
People would look at the weather. I mean, look, I've always...
Well, the weather's only really come about today, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I just thought people would probably look at it. I thought people maybe would look at the Vegas games as well and just go, oh, yeah, that's right. Round 1 scores can be a bit tough.
It's going to keep up that way,
I think so. I think that's how it works. Look, we could well be wrong, and I wouldn't be against, I've got Turbo on my side. I've got Pommy on my side. If they both roll out hundreds, I'm not going to be declining them. Like, I'll be standing there pretty happy. But, we've made all the case last week, and I'm not going to change my mind because I'm suddenly now feel like I've already lost Metcalf. I'm chasing upside. Like, I will chase upside for probably 25 rounds this year. This one won't be one of them.
Oh, 100%. I feel like this is one of the only weeks I'll be doing similar. Round 2, I could even be back.
There's some good matchups in round 2, I reckon.
So I just want to just recap what we think cheapies wise.
Yep.
Who are your top 3 cheapies?
That's put me on the spot.
Let's just say top 3 besides the obvious. So no Toya, no Purdue.
In the centers, I like Shibasaki. I like that he's won that spot. Like, I think the Broncos left edge. You can go Arthurs if you prefer it, but I'd rather have the money. Don't probably see as many other cheapies as I would love to have. Hubner looks good.
I like Hubner.
I think Hubner's a guy that we can probably safely say at 232. Like, even if he turns into sort of a 35, 40-minute bench roll or something like that, like I think there's value there. And I actually, Duffy probably fits into the everyone category. Maybe you can fill it out, mate. I hadn't really thought too much about a whole
Neither have I. I was kind of relying on you to do it, but I think you kind of can put Duffy there. I think Duffy's someone who a lot of people have gone Cleary and Hines. And I think Duffy over... Humphreys will be tempting. I think Duffy's a good player that I think we can play.
Yeah,
that I think is good. The hooker cheapies, where do you rank them? Because there's Mamazelos, there's Crossland, there's Sandon. Obviously, probably Sandon's the number one who's going to be in your backup slot.
Yeah, well, Sandon will be in because, like I said, same issues that Metcalf and Duffy may have at times. They may get a 12 or a 15. But they're a goal-kicking 80-minute half for him particularly in a position that is challenging to fill.
Yep.
If I go down and have a look at the sort of guys in that range, like doesn't Tom Starling look like he looks
so good right now?
I think that then I still like Memazoulis. I
do too.
I don't know if Sullivan's going to steal a heap of minutes off him. I could see it maybe being a 60-20 split at the moment. I don't think Crossland is on my list anymore. Corey Pakes is interesting because he's cheaper, but his points per minute, it's just not. He's not there. If I look up his historical points per minute, it's just not entertaining to me at all. I just don't see it.
I think the only thing interesting for Pakes is he's playing behind such a big pack like Haas and Carrigan. Truck and nut up the middle, and then he's that kind of player that will kind of run when he sees an opening. But when you've got Ben Hunt, you've got Adam Reynolds and Reece Walsh out the back, what's his job? Like, is
them
it going to
the ball.
be get them the ball?
Yeah, and look, you're right. He did it in the trial. He scored a double in short minutes and looked really good doing it. And he will keep doing that. He will find attacking stats. My problem with some of these guys who we go, and it's probably my one concern with, say, Jesse Arthurs, is it's fantastic to think that he's going to score 3 or 4 or 5 more tries, or even X percentage of tries per game increase. But how many points does that equate to? Does it equate to 2 or 3 or 4, 6 points a week? That's great. Like, there's upside there, but how much upside?
Yep.
That's where I see it. Look, I'd honestly go Riley Smith over Pakes. I just see more future. Like, as a guy, you could just park there and sit. Yeah, it's interesting. What have you made of your team structure based on the stuff today? Do you think there's enough cheapies out there? Do we think that we're...
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I think.
I guess it makes Iongi potentially more attractive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also don't think there's enough guns to go to, because with Karaz, Latrell being out, I don't know, there's not many. I had heaps of cash to play with before, and I just struggled to go up to certain people. So at the moment, I've currently got Seafarth, Tuolangi, Hetherington, Olaquatu in my back row. That's the only spot I kind of want to tweak with potentially. My centre wing I'm quite happy with. I think I've got Dewey as my 4th. I might move him on because I don't want another Tigers attacking player. Just got to figure out.
You got Skelton and him?
I've got Skelton
at the moment.
and him,
Yeah, look, I think that's fair. That makes sense.
I was kind of relying on being more sold on Corey Pakes, but I've also got Hetherington, Gazewski, Shibasaki now. Like, I think that's too many. I've got Walsh as well, so I don't want to have another Broncos player. So, and I think Mamazoulos is a good thing. I think he's
the safest at the moment. One, he's the cheapest. So he's actually 40K, outside of Pakes and Smith. He's the cheapest of that 300 to 350K that we're all talking about.
Yep.
The thing that interests me about Mamazoulos as well is he does get it. He doesn't seem like the guy who gets attacking stats. He doesn't seem like how Pakes plays or something like that, but he actually does. Like, he actually gets quite a few try assists and stuff like that for a guy who isn't really a playmaker.
Yep.
So if you're stuck, at least he's 40K cheaper than everyone. Now, that doesn't help you get to Starling necessarily if that's your plan. But there's a few. Yeah, there's some interesting things. I think I'm happy to this week put some ideas together, or put some sort of voice stuff together for you if it helps, that you can share in the Patreon or wherever. I think it would be interesting just to see how our teams have adapted a bit. Doesn't have to be, it can just be about different tactics like that. There might be some stuff that we can maybe give to the subscribers on how to structure their team, or where certain changes they might want to make. Are you going to do a team not reveal a subscribers team?
Yeah. I think for the subscribers definitely will. Maybe not another YouTube one, but maybe I'll do a podcast for it.
I don't know how much time you got this week, but my suggestion this week, maybe a poddy.
Pods Potty.
Yeah.
Pods Potty.
Yeah, I think it would be
interesting.
interesting.
We'll see. We've only got 2 days.
That's true. That's true.
So I've got to pump out the Q&As for the subscribers only.
No pressure, mate.
So if you want to head down there, make sure to ask some questions
What's
in there.
What's the league code?
544005. I know it off by heart. I said that earlier.
Just want to make sure you get it out again. I want everyone in there. I want to see, like, one of the great things about those overall leagues is is actually the sort of banter around it, like who's leading, who's going well.
Well, I kind of like it now that you can see everybody in there and their live scores.
Yeah.
Obviously not in round 1, but we also do have some $50 cash comps that are there's still some spots, and you still can join until the end of the round. The minute the last game locks in, you can't join anymore. So email the supercoachexperience@gmail.com, or head over to Instagram and DM us, because that'd be good if they were filled, because if not, I've got to spot the difference, which I don't want to do. So, anything else?
No, I just think that, team lists haven't been too surprising. I think we've talked through most of the guys that are pretty interesting to people.
Yep.
Reminder just to watch the Bunnies Dolphins game.
See, thing is Mamazelos.
Yeah, I mean,
he's the one who I'm locking in.
Yeah, but do you just have to play Sand on this week and accept what you know.
Oh, I hate that.
I
hate
don't
that.
like it either, but you know what? As I said, these are the things that look. There's probably some stuff although we've said the team lists haven't surprised us. There's probably a few things that have blindsided us. We'll chuck our ideas up in the WhatsApp, in the wherever we can. Happy to support people the next couple of days.
Is there a chance if this is postponed, then round 1 for SuperCoach is open, like for ages, and then we move on to next week, and then it's a really weird dynamic.
Look, I think it's a really big challenge.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do there. So we'll keep you updated in the Patreon and obviously on Instagram because it's very relevant for everyone. So,
absolutely, yeah, that one's only fair. Look, my gut feel is that it's uncharted waters, and we're just gonna have to feel our way through it. And if you haven't had the best round 1, or you don't have the best round 1 by the end of it, don't fret. As I said, and I've repeated this a few times. You have 6 trades. They might give us an extra boost opportunity with this or something like that.
Maybe.
You might get an extra trade, a 6th boost. I don't know. There might not be anything, but regardless, you have 6 trades between now and when it matters. Like your first 2 weeks a year, if you're going to have 2 bad weeks, make it now. You can make changes very quickly before price changes, and you're not stuck with someone hemorrhaging money in your team. I think it's an interesting week.
It is for sure. But we've been going for an hour and a half. Let's get this out to the punters so they can really deep dive into their SuperCoach. But thanks for coming on. Good luck with your SuperCoach this week, lads. And we'll see you during the week. If you're a Patreon subscriber, maybe I'll get some podcasts of some nice little wrap-ups over the weekend. But we'll be back for the Sunday wrap-up at least. Thanks, Grant. Good luck.
Thanks, mate. See ya.